Hello! Welcome back to another installment of the Mario Marathon, the series where I walk you through every single Mario game ever made. Today I'll be talking about a little bit of a more obscure Mario game, or Yoshi game, Yoshi Safari for the Super Nintendo. This was the time that Mario was in a first-person shooter. Well, actually, it's probably more like an on-rails, light gun shooter, because it uses a light gun. But the point of the matter is that this is the one that Mario has a gun in. Don't be alarmed, kids, because so do I! Light gun games. Light gun games are cool as heck. A staple in arcades, these are the games where you're given a plastic gun and you gotta shoot the screen to shoot enemies. There's so many classics like Time Crisis, Point Blank, Virtua Cop. I love these kind of games, even if I suck ass at them. Back in the day, the gun peripherals would have these little lenses that detect light for only one frame, either registering a hit or a miss. But due to shutter speed or something, they only work with old CRTs, which is a big reason I keep one of these big fuckers around. Gotta lift him up 3 flights of stairs and take up a bunch of room, but hey! My retro games look pretty, don't they? Back in the 70s, when Nintendo were still primarily a toy company, they were experimenting with beam gun technology. This brought us a little FMV game called Wild Gunman in '74 that used projectors to show footage of cowboys, and you shoot them with a little beam gun. Then 2 years later, in '76, they came out with an at-home shooting game that used light and shadows to project ducks for you to shoot at, called Duck Hunt. If the titles of these games sound familiar, well, of course they do, because Nintendo remade these games once they began their video game conquest. Enter the NES Zapper. Japan got this realistic-looking revolver toy. Here in the States, we got these. Perhaps the most iconic light gun, Nintendo became well known for games like Duck Hunt and Wild Gunman, and to a lesser extent, Hogan's Alley and fucking Gumshoe. Everyone remembers Gumshoe. Come the next generation with the Super Nintendo, Nintendo was in a fierce battle against Sega. Sega had the reputation as the cool kids company, whereas Nintendo were known for being for kids. They tried so fucking hard to push back against that rep around this time. Like with their Play It Loud ad campaign, for example. So yeah, they had this little itty bitty baby gun before, now they got a motherfucking bazooka! Feast your eyes on the Super Nintendo Super Scope, Nintendo's light gun for the Super Nintendo. So this here is the Super Scope. The scope itself is actually detachable in case you're left-handed or right-handed. You could just put them on with these little divots here. I'm personally right-handed, so I put it on the left side. You could also take off this part and this little pinhole thing to match your preference, I guess. I don't know. This damn thing takes 4 AA batteries for some reason, but I guess a lot of technology around the time did. I think it was the Atari Lynx that took fucking 6 or 8. I would love to have one of those things. You have a power switch here, but it's got 3 settings. On, off, and turbo. It's like a turbo button on a normal controller, but for some reason it's in the power switch. We have this little rest here. It's supposed to go over your shoulder, and then you look down this little pinhole as the, as the scope. But I can't imagine playing an entire game like that. That would just be so tiring. Most of the time I just played Yoshi. I played the first few levels of Yoshi Safari like this, but I pretty much was just pew, 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 it gets tiring. We have 2 buttons up here, various uses depending on the game. In Yoshi Safari, the big purple circle one is shoot, and then this one is your item this one is pause. I guess I should know, I'm the one making the video about the game, right? I do like that they are different shapes, so you can just feel them. I like that. There is another button right here as the trigger. That's the jump button in Yoshi Safari. I think you press it with your thumb, actually. And you see here, this scope, right, hold on, camera. Okay, this one right here is what actually detects the infrared sensor bar on top of your TV. I don't actually know what this part is for. Aesthetic? This is used for something. It has to be. I think this is for additional. The infrared is for additional support, additional. It helps you aim a little bit better. Whereas this is what actually detects the light, because this is the same kind of scope that the NES Super Scope, the NES Zapper has, and my light gun I have for the PlayStation 1, the Namco one. I can't remember the name. So yeah, that's the Super Scope. It's got its fucking name printed on it in case you weren't sure, like a lot of video game stuff did around that time. It's a neat little piece of history. Don't buy one. These things are fucking huge, and I don't know where to fucking put it. I don't know, I got it for 20 bucks. Like, the Super Scope came with this little sensor bar, not unlike the one that the Wii would later adopt. You put it on top of the TV and it would help you calibrate your scope. It also came with a little tech demo game with 6 small shooting games called Super Scope 6, but I don't own it, so we're not talking about that tonight. Anyway, there were a few games that used the Super Scope, like the Hunt for Red October, the video game. Anyway, these wonderful games weren't enough, however, and the Super Scope didn't end up selling very well. In a last-ditch effort to save the peripheral, Nintendo R&D1 got to work on a Mario game made specifically for the Super Scope, and that, of course, being Yoshi Safari. Yoshi Safari released on the Super Famicom as
Yoshi's Road Hunting. That's the fucking title of the Mario game where you have a bazooka.
Okay, I'm good now. Yoshi. Okay. Yoshi Safari released on the Super Famicom as Yoshi's Road Hunting on July 14th, 1993.
Now two can play the games of the Super NES Super Scope, Yoshi Safari and Metal Combat Falcon's Revenge. So to prepare yourself, you might want to consider some basic training exercises. The best play here!
Starting up, we have an opening cutscene with Mario, Yoshi, and Peach. This game is actually the very first time Peach was called Peach in English, before she was just Princess Toadstool. Mario just also already has the Super Scope, no fucking explanation for that needed, he's just packing now and we all gotta live in this world. Anyway, Peach sends Mario and Yoshi on a quest in the never-before-seen Jewelry Land to save its King Fret and Prince Pine from something. It's only after they set off when the game tells us that Peach told them that they've been kidnapped and that Jewelry Land's famous 12 gems have been stolen. Who could be responsible, the game asks. Probably not Bowser, I'm sure. After the cutscene, we are presented with a good old map screen. We got 7 levels here, and you shoot the number to enter the level. What's kinda cool is you can actually play them in any order, Mega Man style. Alright, let's get going. Yoshi Safari, like a lot of arcade-style light gun games, is what's called an on-rails shooter. That means you have no control of where you go. That's what Yoshi's here for, after all. Now, all you gotta worry about is aiming and shooting that big-ass gun of yours. You can jump too, though, but it's very situational. I guess you could jump over enemies, but your timing has to be perfect. Jumping's main function here is these big pads that you have to jump with to get over gaps. So yeah, the gameplay itself isn't very involved, you just shoot. And damn dude, you shoot a lot. You shoot Paragoombas that have blue shoes for some reason. You shoot these dumb Hammer Bro mini-bosses. You shoot these gates to pick a pathway, you shoot items, you shoot bosses, you can even shoot Yoshi, and you take damage for it too, god damn! Shooting all day and night is all fun and good, but you can't do it willy-nilly. There's no ammo, but there is a cooldown power bar that prevents you from just shooting constantly. You know what? This game, like, exhausts me. You can't save, so you just gotta play the whole thing in one go, and I don't know, holding this stupidly large gun all game is getting tiring after a while, you know? Maybe I'm just fat, it's probably that I'm just fat, but I don't feel that way with other smaller light guns. I can play Duck Hunt for hours, no problem. There's a few items you can find throughout this wacky old game too. Shooting enemies will give you a coin, and when you get 60, no, not 100, but 60, you can get an extra life. All the other items, however, are found by shooting these flying question mark blocks. For example, the 10 coin that gives you, well, you know. If you fall through a pit, you lose a few coins, very similarly to Super Mario Kart. There's actually 2 different types of flying question mark blocks, the standard yellow and these ghostly ones that I think are supposed to be the invisible ones. The normal ones have items that take effect immediately, whereas ones from the bluish ones are in reserve for you to use later during boss fights. For your standard items, it's the classic Mario 1 stuff. You got a super mushroom that heals you, a 1-up mushroom that gives you a life, a fire flower that extends your gun's cooldown, and a Starman that makes you temporarily invincible. As for the reserve items, we got the mushroom and Starman again, but now we, on top of those, got a plus clock that adds to your timer. Yes, there's a timer in this game, and no, you never notice it. And a Yoshi fruit that will make you take half as much damage for a limited time. I gotta say, Jewelry Land really ain't that different from the Mushroom Kingdom or even Dinosaur Land at all. You go through your standard fare here. Grasslands, mountains, beaches, the sky, it's all just typical Mario locales. Not that that's a horrible thing, I mean this is a new genre and I'm sure they just want it to be familiar. There's even a level where you go underwater. Still the same gameplay, but now there's bloopers, ooh. I'll tell you what else is familiar, the enemies. Not that that ever even matters too much, you pretty much just shoot whatever the hell you see in front of you. But hey, it's cool to see these guys in a 3D-ish game. You got the Koopas, the Paragoombas, Cheep Cheeps, Bullet Bills, Hammer Bros. It's just the standard Mario enemy lineup. Nipper plants are here, but they look fucking cursed facing at the front, like they were never designed for that. But it's cool that they're here. This fucking Simpsons character looking ass. There is one new enemy, Taco, these octopus guys. They're spawned in by this mini-boss, Suriberu. I think that's how it's pronounced, maybe? I don't know. It's like a sack or a jar or something. Tacos resemble the Gunions from Mario Land a lot, don't you think? There's also quite a few mini-bosses that you'll find on your journey here too, like a fire snake and a Lakitu. Every level ends with a full-on boss. These are all one of the 7 Koopalings in a mech, except for Wendy, who has this neat fight where she pops out of different pipes and you have to shoot this flying anvil on top of her to damage her. The other fights are alright, I guess. The designs of the mechs are cool as fuck. Shoutouts to Iggy's King Blooper, this fucking scary robot blooper. Or Morton, who rides on this frog that looks spaced out as fuck. The frog also bears a striking resemblance to the frogs from Yoshi's Island, which wouldn't come out for 2 years. If you watched the last episode on All-Stars, I said a similar thing about this Yoshi sprite. Something's fishy here. Or froggy. Something is definitely froggy here. Anyway, the bosses themselves are super easy. It's just a matter of waiting for them to show their weak spot and shoot it till it dies, like everything else. They all have a second phase too, but it's all the same shit. The game in general is just a huge cakewalk. You can beat it in about an hour. That's about as long as a light gun game should be, yeah, but a whole hour is pretty boring and tiring on the arms. However, there is more. After each level, you get a different gem back, and you also see this little results screen where
Mario chases Yoshi and shoots him.
Damn, I understand the Japanese title now. Anyway, once you get all 7 gems, you're presented with another cutscene. Mario saves King Fred, and he thanks him, but informs him that there are still more gems and that his son is still kidnapped. So you hop into a warp pipe that takes you to a new map screen. Welcome to the Dark Realm, where you now got 4 more levels to take on. Mario and Yoshi go to hell, and that's metal as fuck. These levels are a lot more spooky to match its Dark Realm setting, but again, it's all stuff we've seen before. A volcano, a ghost house, a castle, and a spooky beach. Okay, I guess a spooky beach is kinda new, but when have you ever seen anything do a spooky beach before? Kingdom Hearts? You got some new bosses here too, which are all based on baddies from Super Mario World. We got a Chargin' Chuck, a regular Koopa and a Big Mac, Big Boo, and a Magic Koopa. I'm convinced Magic Koopa being a boss is also a Yoshi's Island foreshadowing, but moving right along. Touching real quick on this game's presentation, it's a nice enough looking game. The levels themselves make use of the Super Nintendo's Super Effects chip and make the world look more 3D, much like Super Mario Kart. The pixel art is really pretty. It looks a lot like the standard 2D artwork that the series had around this time. It's vibrant and nice. But the 2D stuff, like the cutscenes and results screen, they look like fucking shit. Absolute unsalvageable garbo. The music is just kinda okay too. Some tracks are catchy, but nothing is too memorable. This whole game is just kinda average in gameplay and in visuals and pretty much everything, honestly. Actually, you know what? I did really vibe with the level 6 music, but honestly that's about it. Before I move on, I want to quickly mention that this game actually does have a multiplayer mode, where one player has the gun and shoots like before, but the other player controls Yoshi with a normal SNES controller. I haven't played this mode fully with another person, but it seems like a fun co-op adventure. The Yoshi player can now duck too, making it a little more involved. Once you finish all 4 levels in the Dark Realm, the final level is revealed on the map. As I'm sure we can all guess, the final level is Bowser's Castle. This one is just an endless fucking gauntlet with lava bubbles and Mecha Koopas, and all sorts of other enemies just haphazardly placed, one after another like a shitty Mario Maker level. Still easy as shit though. At the end of this long, winding path, you find yourself a big hole in the ground, and of course Yoshi instinctively jumps right on in. Here we have yet another gauntlet, with mini-bosses this time. A Hammer Bro, Boomerang Bro, Lakitu, Sledge Bro, and a Fire Snake. They give you mushrooms and 10 coins after everyone, so again, easy peasy. Then there's another hole, taking us finally to Bowser. Old Bowser's got cool armor now, with fucking hand cannons, it looks awesome. Also, just not gonna address how fucking huge he is. Well, actually, Bowser's height is, like, wildly different from here on out. Sometimes he's Mario's size, and sometimes he's 10 stories tall. We all just have to deal, I suppose. If you want, I guess you can say it's because he ate a Mega Mushroom or some shit, I don't know. But it's the same shit, different day. You shoot him, you shoot him, you shoot him again, he's dead, died, he's dead, bam. This game is boring. Beating Bowser rewards the player with another cutscene, with Prince Pine thanking Mario. He tells him to throw all the gems into the sky, and this act will mend the light and dark realms back into one. Was that the problem? Was that what I was doing? Was I just not paying attention? Or, well, anyway, you do that, congrats! Then King Fret thanks you again, and Pine says next time you visit to bring Peach. We never see Fret, Pine, or Jewelry Land ever again for the entire series. I think Pine is fucking Peach on the side, that's my headcanon. Well, Mario and Yoshi make their trek home, and we get a The End screen with Mario pointing the gun directly at you. I really don't think Mario is licensed at all. My main takeaway of this game, purely looking at it as a game and not as a game using the Super Scope, is that it's just kinda mediocre. It's very, very safe and boring. It's like, okay, there's only a few Super Scope games, and if you got one of these big stupid things, why not grab the Mario one? It's a fun afternoon killer, I'll leave it at that. Yoshi Safari never got any ports, likely due to the light gun. Could've worked pretty well on the Wii or Wii U like Duck Hunt did, but hey, oh well. The game got a volume in the Kodansha manga dedicated to it to promote it, like pretty much all of Casey Mario and Mario-kun, but that's about it. The game is pretty forgotten these days. I mean, check it out if you want to play it, but that would require you to get a Super Nintendo, a tube TV, the little receiver dongle, and this big fucking plastic gun on top of the game itself. I'm a retro collector creepy weirdo, so I had no problem doing that, knowing full well that this game was just gonna be okay. But most gamers aren't like me. You could emulate it using a mouse, but that would make the game way more easy. So just skip this one. And that was Yoshi Safari. You gotta think though, why did they name this game after Yoshi anyway? I mean, yeah, you are looking at Yoshi pretty much the entire game, and you spend probably 30% of it shooting the poor bastard in the back of the head, but it is pretty much still a Mario spin-off game. Then you think back to Yoshi and Yoshi's Cookie, and you know, these are pretty much just puzzle games themed around Yoshi. It's pretty clear that around this time, Nintendo was trying to make Yoshi the star of his own franchise. However, it would be another 2 years before they actually figured out how to make Yoshi his own protagonist. But Yoshi wasn't the only Mario character like this. Around the same time, 3 different Wario-related games came out. Join me next time when I take a look at Mario & Wario for the Super Famicom, released exclusively in Japan. Oh my god, that was a very intense burp. Until next time, friends, but first, let me give a huge shout out to my friend Matt, aka Metal Redux on Twitch. He once again helped me with this script. I have a Twitter account and a webcomic at alfietales.com. I've been Sprited. Thank you for watching my video. I gotta turn the camera off, though.